The phone rang at 6:47 on a Tuesday morning. I was already up, grinding coffee beans in my boxers when I saw Lily's name on the screen. My granddaughter never called that early. Never. I swiped to answer and heard her voice, small and shaky, like she was hiding under the blanket stuff. "Grandpa, are you busy?" I set the grinder down. "Never too busy for you, sweetheart." "What's wrong?" She didn't answer at first. Just breathed. Quick little breaths that told me she was trying real hard not to cry. Mom and Dad were yelling again. I put my pillow over my head, but I could still hear everything. I leaned against the counter, my knuckles going white on the granite edge. "What did they say, Lily?" "Money, Grandpa. They always fight about money. Dad said Mom spent too much on groceries. Mom said he should stop buying beer every weekend. Then Dad started screaming about the mortgage. He said they're gonna lose the house." I closed my eyes. Claire. My Claire. 38 years old and drowning, and I'd been sitting on a fortune like a fool. "Lily, listen to me. Your mom and dad love each other. They're just stressed. I'm gonna come over today, okay? We'll sort this out. Promise, promise. Now dry your eyes and eat some breakfast. I love you more than anything." "I love you too, Grandpa." She hung up. I stood there in my kitchen for a long minute, staring at the coffee maker, the steam curling up. Then I walked to my bedroom, opened the closet, moved aside a stack of old sweaters, and reached behind the shoe rack. My fingers found the metal lockbox. Cold. Heavy. I pulled it out and set it on the bed. Combination 18-34-07, the day I got out. Inside was a manila envelope with a bank logo on the front. I opened the flap. The balance sheet was dated last week. I didn't need to look at the number. I knew it by heart. 7 figures. Enough to buy their house outright. Enough to pay off every debt they had. Enough to make my son-in-law choke on his own stupid words. Daniel had no idea. None of them did. They thought I was just a retired janitor living on a modest pension. That's what I let them think. That's what I'd let everyone think for 30 years. It was a cover. A damn good one. That I dressed slow. Khakis. A button-down shirt. The same navy cardigan I always wore. Comfortable. Unassuming. The uniform of a man nobody looked at twice. The drive to Claire's house took 22 minutes. I counted every one. My hands were steady on the wheel, but my mind was churning. I thought about all the times Daniel had dismissed me. All the times he'd made those little comments. "Pop's just a janitor, what does he know? Save your pension money, you'll need it when you're old." He had no idea who he was talking to. No idea what I'd done before I became Frank Henderson. I pulled into their driveway. The house was a modest colonial with white siding and black shutters. The lawn needed mowing. The gutters were clogged. Little signs of people barely keeping their heads above water. I walked up to the front door and knocked. Claire opened it. She looked tired. Dark circles under her eyes, hair in a messy ponytail. She tried to smile. "Dad." "What a surprise." "Lily called," I said. "She said things were rough. I wanted to check in." Her face went tight. She glanced over her shoulder. Daniel was in the living room, sitting on the couch in his work clothes. Arms crossed. Jaw tight. He stood when he saw me. "Pop." He nodded. No smile. "Lily shouldn't have called you." "Lily's worried," I said. "That makes me worried. So here I am." Daniel walked into the kitchen. I followed. Claire trailed behind. The kitchen was a mess. Dishes in the sink. A half-empty bottle of cheap whiskey on the counter. Bills spread across the table like a losing hand of poker. Mortgage statement on top. Late notice. Past due. You want coffee? Claire's voice was too bright that no thanks. I sat down at the table. The chair creaked under me. I'll get right to it. Lily told me you're having money problems. I want to help. Daniel laughed. That sharp, bitter sound I'd heard 100 times before. Help how? Pop, you gonna mow our lawn, fix our leaky faucet? We need real help. Not feel-good offers from an old man trying to feel useful. Daniel, Claire started. That's what, I'm just being honest. Your dad lives off a pension. He drives a 10-year-old Honda. He clips coupons. What's he gonna do for us? I kept my face neutral. My hands folded on the table. The scar on my eyebrow itched. It always did when I was about to do something stupid. I have some savings, I said. More than you might think. Daniel snorted. Everyone thinks they have savings until the water heater goes out. Pop, I appreciate the thought. I really do. But keep your money. You'll need it when you can't take care of yourself anymore. Those words hit me harder than they should have. Not the insult. The dismissal. The assumption that I was weak. Helpless. The assumption that I'd never been anything more than a janitor. Claire sat down across from me. Her eyes were wet. Dad, he doesn't mean it like that. We're just stressed. Daniel's hours got cut. I'm working part-time at the pharmacy. It's not enough. How much do you need? I asked. Daniel laughed again. Louder this time. What are you gonna do? Pop, write us a check for $500 that'll cover the electric bill but not the mortgage. Not the car payment. Not Lily's school fees. We need 10 grand just to get current. 30 to feel safe. You don't have that kind of money. I looked at him. This man who'd been married to my daughter for 12 years. A good man, mostly. Hard-working. But beaten down by life. He had no idea what I was about to say. Let me help, I said again. I can make a call. Get you some breathing room. Daniel shook his head. I don't want your charity, Pop. I'm not some charity case. I can handle my own family. No, Claire started. I mean it. He held up a hand. I'll fix this myself. I'll pick up extra shifts. I'll sell my truck if I have to. But I'm not taking money from a retired janitor who should be spending his last years enjoying himself, not bailing out his daughter's husband. I stood up slow. My knees popped. I need to use your bathroom. Claire pointed down the hall. I walked past Lily's room. The door was cracked. I saw her inside, sitting on her bed, holding a stuffed rabbit. Her eyes were red. She looked at me with so much hope it broke my heart. I went into the bathroom, locked the door, and leaned against the sink. Looked at myself in the mirror. The old janitor. The invisible man. The dragon sitting on his gold. I pulled out my phone. Scrolled to a name I hadn't called in 3 years. Marcus. My handler. The only man in the world who knew the truth about who I really was. He picked up on the second ring. Frank. I was wondering when you'd call. Marcus, I said. I need a favor. You don't call for favors. You call when it's something important. It's important. A pause. Then Marcus chuckled. The old janitor act. I love it. Someone finally pissed you off, didn't they? You have no idea. Tell me. I took a breath. I need documents. Proof of funds. Transfers. The whole thing. And I need them today. Marcus whistled. You're going nuclear. My granddaughter's family is falling apart. My son-in-law thinks I'm worthless. Let me guess. He's been rude. He called me selfish. Said I was sitting on my money like a dragon. Marcus laughed. The sound was warm and loud. Frank. You've been sitting on a lot more than money. You've been sitting on the truth. When are you gonna let that old dragon out of the cave? Soon, I said. Today. But I need to do it right. I need to make him understand exactly who he's been talking to. I'll have everything to your email in an hour. 1 hour. Thank you, Marcus. It's good to hear your voice again, Frank. Yours too. I hung up. Flushed the toilet. Ran the water. Unlocked the door and walked back to the living room. Claire was on the couch. Daniel stood by the window, staring out at the street. Lily had come out of her room. She was holding Claire's hand up. I'm gonna head out, I said. I have some things to take care of. Daniel didn't turn around. Take care of yourself, Pop. I looked at Lily. Our eyes met. I gave her the smallest nod. A promise. She smiled. That smile. The one that made my heart squeeze in my chest. I walked to my car, got in, started the engine. Sat there for a long moment with my hands on the wheel. The dragon was waking up. The email came at 9:47. I was sitting in my study with the curtains drawn, the old oak desk covered in files I hadn't touched in years. I opened the attachment and my breath caught. Marcus had outdone himself. Bank statements. Investment portfolios. Account histories going back 3 decades. Everything I needed to prove that Frank Henderson was not a retired janitor. But it wasn't just the money. There was a separate file. A folder marked optional. I opened it. Photographs. Old ones. Grainy. Black and white. Men in suits standing in shadows. Documents with classified stamps. The kind of history that could get a man killed if it fell into the wrong hands. Marcus's note at the bottom read, "You don't have to show them this. But if you want to make the point clear, it'll do the job." I closed the file and sat back in my chair. The leather creaked beneath me. This was the part I'd been avoiding for 30 years. The part where I stopped hiding. Where I let my daughter and her husband see the truth. That I printed 3 pages. Just enough to make a statement. Folded them into my jacket pocket and drove back to Claire's house. Daniel's truck was still in the driveway. He hadn't gone to work. I guessed he'd called in sick. The angry kind of sick. I knocked. Lily answered. Her face lit up like a Christmas tree. "Grandpa. You came back." "Of course I did." I stepped inside. "Where's your dad?" "Kitchen." She lowered her voice. "He's in a bad mood. Mom's at work." I walked to the kitchen. Daniel was sitting at the table with a cold cup of coffee in front of him. The bills were still spread out. He didn't look up when I entered. "Pop," he said flat. "You're back. I have something to show you." He finally looked at me. His eyes were red. Had he been crying? The thought made something twist in my chest. He was too proud to admit it. "This again, I told you, Pop. I don't want your money. We'll figure it out. Just look at the papers. That's all I'm asking." I slid the 3 pages across the table. He stared at them for a long moment. Then he picked them up. His eyes moved slowly across the text. I watched the shift. The way his shoulders tightened. The way his jaw went slack. "What is this?" he whispered. "Bank statements. Account summaries. Investment portfolios. They're mine." "You have," he swallowed hard. "This says you have $4 million. Liquid. 4.2, actually. The market's been good this quarter." His eyes snapped up to meet mine. "You're a janitor. You retired from the school district. You drive a Honda. Still a janitor. Still drive a Honda. I like the Honda. This doesn't make any sense." He pushed the papers away like they were burning him. Where did this come from? Your pension? There's no way. I sat down across from him. Took off my cardigan. Laid it over the back of the chair. My pension is a fraction of that. The rest came from a different life. A life I left behind a long time ago. Daniel's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? I used to work for the government, Daniel. Not the school district. The other government. The one that doesn't issue press releases. I spent 10 years doing things I can't talk about. And I got paid very well for it. When I retired, they set me up with a new identity. Frank Henderson. Retired janitor. Nobody special. That was the point. The kitchen went dead silent. The refrigerator hummed. Daniel's hand trembled slightly as he picked up the papers again. He read the numbers again, like he was hoping they'd change. 4 million, he said again, almost a prayer. You've had this the whole time. The whole time Claire and I have been struggling. You've had $4 million. I never wanted to need it, I said. I wanted you two to build something of your own. Something I didn't give you. I thought you'd be happier that way. But we're drowning. We're drowning and you just sat there watching. You told me you didn't want my help. Every time I offered, you shut me down. You said I was just a retired janitor who didn't understand the real world. Daniel's face went red. You let me think that. You could have told me the truth years ago. You could have. What saved you from your own choices? You and Claire are adults. You made bad decisions. You bought a house you couldn't afford. You took out loans for cars you didn't need. You tried to keep up with people who had more money than you. I watched it all. I hoped you'd learn. He stood up so fast the chair scraped backward. You have no right to judge me. You don't know what it's like. Working double shifts. Watching your family go without. Have you stopped buying the beer? Have you dropped the cable package? Have you sat down and actually budgeted? His mouth opened. Closed. His hands were shaking. Daniel. I kept my voice low. I'm not here to humiliate you. I'm here to help. But you need to understand something. The man you've been dismissing for 12 years isn't who you thought he was. And I'm done pretending. Lily appeared in the doorway. Her face was pale. Dad, Grandpa, what's going on? Daniel looked at her. Then at me. The anger in his eyes softened. Just a little. It's nothing, sweetie. Go to your room. No. I shook my head. She stays. Lily, I want you to hear this too. It's important. Daniel blinked. She's 11. Old enough to understand that money doesn't make you happy. And old enough to know that the man she's been calling Grandpa is not a janitor. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the second envelope. The one with the photographs. I spread them across the table. Daniel leaned in. I watched his face change. The confusion. The dawning horror. The recognition that his father-in-law had once been something else entirely. Who are you? He whispered. I was a ghost, I said. I was a man who could make things disappear. Problems. People. Entire countries' worth of secrets. I retired because I wanted a normal life. But I'm still the same man. The skills don't go away. Lily stepped closer. She looked at the photos. Grandpa, were you a spy? I laughed. A real laugh. Something like that, sweetheart. Something like that. Daniel sank back into his chair. The fight had drained out of him. $4 million, he said again. He couldn't seem to stop saying it. You've been hiding $4 million. I've been hiding a lot more than that. But the money is the easiest part to understand. I'm not just giving it to you, Daniel. I'm going to teach you how to use it. Teach me, he laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm 53 years old. What are you gonna teach me? How to think like a man who's spent 30 years in the shadows. How to see money as a tool, not a problem. How to build something that doesn't fall apart the first time life gets hard. The front door opened. Claire walked in. She saw us gathered around the table. Saw Daniel's face. Saw the photographs spread out like evidence. What happened? She asked. Daniel looked at her. The words came out slow. Your father isn't a janitor. He's been lying to us the whole time. Claire set her purse down slowly. She walked to the table and looked at the papers. Her eyes went wide. Dad, is this real? Yes. $4 million, plus assets. Her lips trembled. And you never told me. You let us struggle, and you never told me. I stood up. My knees ached. I let you struggle because I believed in you. I believed you'd figure it out. You and Daniel were smart. You were determined. But something changed. You stopped fighting. You started blaming each other. The money was never the real problem. The problem was you forgot you were on the same team. Claire's eyes filled with tears. Dad, don't cry. I took her hand. This isn't a punishment. It's a wake-up call. I'm going to help you. But I'm not handing you a check and walking away. We're gonna work. Together. Daniel let out a breath, long and slow. What do you need us to do? I pulled out a chair and sat beside him. First, we pay off the debts. Every single one. That's a fresh start. Then we make a plan. A budget that works. A way of living that doesn't depend on me bailing you out every few years. Lily stepped forward. Grandpa, does this mean you're rich? I smiled at her. It means I'm lucky. And I'm gonna share that luck with the people I love. But the important thing isn't the money. It's the lesson. I want you to understand that money is a tool. Not a goal. Just a tool. She nodded slowly. Like a hammer. Exactly like a hammer. I ruffled her hair. You can build something beautiful with it. Or you can hurt yourself. Depends on how you use it. Daniel cleared his throat. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me, I said. Learn from me. That's all I want. But even as I said it, something nagged at me. A question that had been hiding in the back of my mind since I opened Marcus's email. The documents were clean. The money was real. But there was something in that folder marked optional. Something I hadn't shown them. Something that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Marcus had said it was optional. But he'd also included it for a reason. He never did anything without a reason. I looked at the photographs still spread across the table. The men in the shadows. The documents with classified stamps. And I realized that some of those men weren't just shadows anymore. Some of them were still alive. And some of them had long memories. I smiled at Lily and squeezed Claire's hand. But my mind was already somewhere else. Wondering if the dragon was the only thing waking up. 3 months changed everything. I moved into their spare bedroom the week after I showed them the papers. Not because they needed me to, but because I wanted to be close. I wanted to watch the transformation. The first thing we did was pay off every debt. The mortgage, the cars, the credit cards, the medical bills Claire had been hiding from everyone. I wrote the checks myself, watching Daniel's face as each one left my hand. He didn't argue this time. He just nodded, jaw tight, eyes wet. Then we started the real work. I sat them down at the kitchen table with laptops and spreadsheets. Showed them how to budget. How to track every dollar. How to build an emergency fund that would keep them afloat for 6 months if everything went wrong. Daniel took notes like a man possessed. He filled 3 notebooks in the first week. Asked questions about investments, about interest rates, about tax implications. The man who'd called me a dragon 3 months ago was now staying up until midnight reading financial blogs. Claire quit her part-time pharmacy job and started a small baking business from home. Cookies, cakes, pies. She'd always been good at it. Now she had the time and the capital to make it real. Within a month, she had regular customers. Within 2, she was turning a profit. The house changed too. New gutters. A fresh coat of paint. Daniel mowed the lawn every Saturday morning, whistling while he pushed the mower. Lily's soccer trophy got a spot on the mantel. The kitchen table became a place for homework and meals and laughter. But the biggest change was Daniel himself. He started looking at me differently. Not as a burden or a charity case. As someone he could learn from. Someone who'd been through things he couldn't imagine. One night, we were sitting on the back porch. Just the two of us. Claire was inside helping Lily with math homework. The stars were out. The air was cool. "Pop," Daniel said, using the name without the usual edge. "Can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "That life you had. The government work. Was it as dangerous as the movies make it seem?" I took a long sip of my whiskey. Dangerous isn't the right word. It was always about risk. Calculating it. Managing it. Knowing when to move and when to stay still. "What's the scariest thing you ever did?" I thought about it. The images flashed through my mind. The dark streets of foreign cities. The faces of men who trusted me and paid for it. The moments when everything came down to a split-second decision. "I don't know if I can answer that," I said. "Some things are better left buried." Like the photographs, he looked at me with those sharp eyes. "I saw the way you hesitated when you showed them. There was something you weren't telling us." I set my glass down. "There's always something I'm not telling people. That's how I survived." "Not anymore." He leaned forward. "You're part of this family now. For real. That means no more secrets. Not from me. Not from Claire. We can handle it." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But there were things I'd never told anyone. Things that would put them at risk just by knowing. "Let me think about it," I said. "I need to make some calls first." The calls went to Marcus. He picked up on the first ring, like he'd been waiting. "Frank. How's retirement?" "Complicated. I need you to check something for me." "Shoot." "The photographs you sent. The ones in the optional folder. I need to know who else has copies." Marcus went silent. That was never a good sign. "Why do you ask?" "Because I've been thinking about those faces. Some of those men weren't just colleagues. They were enemies. And they knew I was the one who took them down. They're dead, Frank. Most of them anyway. Most. Not all." Marcus sighed. "There's one. A man named Gerald Crane. He was an analyst. Desk jockey. He got caught in the sweep and lost everything. He's been trying to clear his name ever since. He thinks you have information that can prove his innocence." I remember him. He wasn't a bad man. Just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's been looking for you for years. And he's getting close. My blood went cold. "How close?" "He knows you changed your identity. He knows you're somewhere in the Midwest. He doesn't have the new name yet, but he's working on it." "How much time do we have?" "A few weeks. Maybe less." "He's persistent." I thanked Marcus and hung up. Stood in my study for a long time, staring at the wall. The dragon wasn't the only thing waking up. The ghosts of the past were stirring too. The next morning, I told Daniel everything. Not about the money. About the past. The people I'd hurt. The ones who might still be coming for me. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he let out a low whistle. "So this Gerald Crane guy is coming here. He's going to try." He wants revenge. Or justice. I'm not sure which. Then we stop him. I blinked. What, we stop him? Daniel cracked his knuckles. You taught me that much. When something's coming at you, you don't run. You prepare. You strategize. You make it work for you. Daniel, this isn't like mowing the lawn. This man has been hunting me for years. He knows how I think. He knows the people I used to work with. Good. Then we use that. We know what he wants. We give it to him. But we control the terms. I stared at him. This was the same man who'd been drowning in debt 3 months ago. The same man who'd called me a dragon. Now he was talking about strategy and control like he'd been doing it his whole life. That you've been paying attention, I said. That he grinned. You're a good teacher. That night, I called Marcus again. We hashed out a plan. A way to lure Crane into the open. A way to offer him something he couldn't refuse. Closure. Peace. A chance to finally stop running. That I'll get him here, Marcus said. But you have to be ready for anything. He's not going to just accept your offer. He's going to want proof. Documents. Confessions. I'll give him what he needs. And if that's not enough, I looked out the window at the house. Lights on in the kitchen. Claire laughing at something Lily said. Daniel's silhouette against the curtains. That then we'll figure out something else. Together. Marcus made it happen. A week later, he called with a time and a place. Wednesday. 2 o'clock. The house on Maple Street that I told Daniel. Told Claire. We sat in the living room and went over the plan. Where I'd be. Where Daniel would be. Where Lily would stay upstairs with instructions not to come down no matter what she heard. I don't like this, Claire said. Bringing him here. Into our home. It's the only way, I said. If I run, he follows. If I hide, he finds me. This way, we control it. We control everything. Daniel squeezed her hand. I'll be right there. I won't let anything happen to him. You can't promise that. I can try. Lily came down the stairs. She'd been listening from the hallway. Grandpa, are you scared? I knelt down to her level. A little. But that's okay. Fear keeps you sharp. Keeps you alive. You always say that. Because it's true. I put my hands on her shoulders. I'm going to be fine. Your dad's going to be fine. We've got a plan. What if the plan doesn't work? I smiled at her. Then we make a new one. Wednesday arrived faster than I wanted. I woke up at 5 in the morning and couldn't get back to sleep. Made coffee. Sat on the porch. Watched the sun come up over the neighborhood. Daniel joined me at 7. He didn't say anything. Just sat beside me with his own cup of coffee. You ready for this? I asked. I don't know. But I'm not going anywhere. Claire came out at 8, looking nervous but determined. I packed Lily's bag. Just in case. She's going to stay with a neighbor until it's over. Good thinking, I said. That I'm not just thinking about her, Claire said. I'm thinking about all of us. We're a family. We stick together. The hours crawled by. I went over the plan in my head 100 times. The photographs spread across the table. The documents ready in a folder. Marcus's car due to arrive at 1 with Crane in the passenger seat. At noon, my phone buzzed. Marcus. We're on our way. See you soon. I hung up and looked at Daniel. Time to go. We walked to the living room. I sat in the armchair facing the door. Daniel stood by the window, arms crossed. Claire took the couch. The doorbell rang at exactly 2 o'clock. I stood up. Opened the door. Gerald Crane stood on the porch. Gray suit. Thin frame. Nervous eyes. He looked older than I remembered. More tired. He looked at me and I saw the recognition hit him like a physical blow. "You're him," he said. "You're actually him." "I am," I said. "And I've been expecting you." Crane stepped inside like a man entering a trap. His eyes darted everywhere, taking in the living room, the furniture, the photographs on the wall. He scanned for threats the way a cornered animal does. I knew that look. I'd worn it myself more times than I could count. "This is a setup," he said. His voice was thin, reedy. "You brought me here to take me out." "Nobody's taking anybody out," I said. "Have a seat." He didn't move. His eyes locked on Daniel by the window. On Claire on the couch. On me standing by the armchair. "Who are these people?" "My family." "I didn't know you had a family." That was the point. "Sit down, Gerald. You came all this way. The least you can do is hear me out." He hesitated. Then he moved to the edge of the couch and sat, perched like a bird ready to fly. His hands were trembling. I remembered him as a young analyst, sharp and eager, always taking notes. Time had not been kind. The years of bitterness had carved deep lines into his face. "Marcus said you wanted to talk," Crane said. "He said you were willing to cooperate." I didn't believe him. I still don't. "You came anyway. I've been looking for you for 7 years. 7 years of dead ends and false leads. When Marcus called, I thought it was a trick. But I had to take the chance. Because you want answers. Because I want my life back." His voice cracked. "Do you know what it's like losing everything because some shadow man decided you were a liability? My career. My reputation. My marriage. All of it gone. Because of you." I sat down across from him. Daniel moved closer, not threatening, just present. A solid presence at my back. "I didn't make that call, Gerald. I was just a tool. Someone higher up gave the order and I carried it out. That's how it worked. You know that. Don't give me that." Crane leaned forward. "You were the one who brought the evidence. You were the one who testified. I lost everything because of your testimony. Testimony that was based on documents you had on your own desk. Documents you were supposed to report and didn't. You knew there was a leak in your department. You knew who it was. And you sat on it." His face went pale. "That's not true." "It is true. I read the files. You knew your partner was passing information to the enemy. You covered for him because he was your friend. You thought you could handle it on your own. And when the operation collapsed, you were the one left holding the bag." Crane opened his mouth. Closed it. For a long moment, he just stared at me. "Those documents were sealed," he whispered. "Classified. You had no right to see them. I had access to everything. That's what I did. I made sure the right people had the right information at the right time. You were a casualty of your own choices, Gerald. Not mine." He slumped back on the couch. All the fight seemed to drain out of him. "I've spent 7 years blaming you. Thinking you were the one who ruined me. And now you're telling me I did it to myself. I'm telling you the truth. That's why I brought you here. Not to fight. Not to settle a score. To tell you the truth and give you a way out." Crane looked up. Hope flickered in his eyes, small and fragile. "What kind of way out?" I gestured to Marcus, who'd been standing quietly by the door. Marcus stepped forward with a folder. "Inside this folder," I said, "is a job offer. Consulting position with a private firm. Decent salary. Good benefits. A chance to rebuild your life without the stigma of what happened." A consulting firm. Crane took the folder. His hands shook as he opened it. This is legitimate, completely. The firm handles government contracts. They need someone with your background. Your analysis skills. Your knowledge of the system. They don't care about the past. They only care about what you can do now. Crane read the document. His eyes moved slowly, taking in every word. When he finished, he looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Why?" he asked. "Why would you do this for me?" "Because I'm tired," I said. "Tired of running. Tired of hiding. Tired of looking over my shoulder. You've been chasing me for 7 years. If I can end that chase by giving you what you need, then I'm done. You could have just disappeared. Changed your identity again. Gotten lost somewhere else. I could have. But I have a family now. A real one. I'm not going to drag them into the shadows with me. I'm done with the shadows." Claire moved to my side. She put her hand on my shoulder. "My father has spent his whole life protecting people he didn't even know. It's time someone protected him." Daniel stepped forward too. "So here's the deal. You take the job. You move on with your life. You stop looking for my father-in-law. And we all walk away from this." Crane looked at the folder again. At the salary. The benefits. The chance to start over. Then he looked at me. "I don't know if I can forgive you," he said. "I don't know if I can forget what happened. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for peace." He was quiet for a long time. The clock on the mantel ticked. Somewhere in the house, Lily's music drifted down from upstairs. 7 years, Crane finally said. "I've been chasing a ghost for 7 years. And now the ghost is standing in front of me asking for peace. More than that." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small photograph. Black and white. 2 men shaking hands in front of a government building. One of them was me. The other was Crane's partner. The one who'd betrayed him. "I kept this," I said. "I don't know why. Maybe because it reminded me that the people we worked with were human too. Not just assets and liabilities. Human beings with families and fears and dreams." Crane took the photograph. He stared at it for a long moment. His thumb traced the outline of his partner's face. "He was my best friend," Crane whispered. "We went through training together. He was the best man at my wedding. I know. He sold me out. He sold all of us out. And I still couldn't bring myself to report him. You were loyal. That's not a weakness. That's a strength. It just got twisted in a system that didn't care about loyalty." Crane looked up at me. "You really believe that?" "I do. And I believe you're a good man who made a mistake. The same way I'm a good man who made a lot of them. We both have blood on our hands. But that doesn't mean we can't find something better." He held the photograph for another moment. Then he tucked it into his jacket pocket. "I'll take the job," he said. That I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Claire squeezed my shoulder. Daniel nodded, a small smile on his face. But Crane wasn't finished. He stood up and looked me dead in the eye. "I'll take the job. I'll move on. But I need something else before I go." "What's that?" "Need to know the whole truth. Not about the operation. About you. Who you really are. What you did before you became Frank Henderson. Everything. I spent 7 years chasing a ghost. I deserve to know who I was chasing." I looked at Marcus. Marcus nodded slightly. Permission. That I sat back in my chair. The story was coming out. All of it. That my real name isn't Frank Henderson, I began. It's not even close. I was born in a small town in Ohio. Enlisted when I was 18. Got recruited by the agency 2 years later. I spent the next decade working operations that don't exist on any official record. The money I made was laundered through shell companies. The identity I built was a lie from the start. Frank Henderson was a real person, Crane said. I checked his records. Birth certificate. Social Security. Everything. Frank Henderson died in a car accident in 1987. I took his name. His history. His life. The man who died had no family. No connections. He was perfect cover. Crane's face went pale. So everything. Everything about you. It's all fabricated. Everything except the part that matters. My love for my daughter. My granddaughter. My son-in-law now, too. That's real. That's the only thing that's ever been real. Daniel stepped forward. You can't tell anyone about this. You can't expose him. Crane looked at him. I'm not going to. I've got nothing to gain from destroying a man who just gave me my life back. So we have an understanding, I asked. Crane nodded. We have an understanding. He turned to leave. At the door, he stopped. Looked over his shoulder. Frank, he said. For what it's worth. I hope you find peace too. Then he was gone. Marcus followed him out. The door closed behind them. The silence in the living room was deafening. Claire broke it first. Dad, she said, her voice trembling. You gave up everything. Your name. Your history. Everything you were. For us. For me. I took her hand. I'd do it again. 1,000 times. Daniel moved to stand beside her. You're not just a ghost anymore, Pop. You're family. Really family. Lily appeared at the bottom of the stairs. She'd come down despite being told to stay up. Her eyes were red. Grandpa, she said. I heard everything. Sweetheart, Grandpa, I don't care who you used to be. You're my grandpa. That's all that matters. I opened my arms and she ran into them. Held her tight. Felt the tears on my cheeks and didn't care. I love you, I said. All of you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Daniel cleared his throat. So what now? I looked around the room. My family. My real family. Now we live, I said. We take what I've given you and we build something that lasts. Something that doesn't depend on secrets and shadows. Something real. Claire nodded. We can do that. Together. Together, I repeated. And for the first time in 30 years, I believed it. 6 months later, I stood in the backyard of Claire's house watching Lily chase fireflies with a glass jar. The summer air was thick and warm. The lawn was green and trimmed. The new patio furniture gleamed under the string lights Claire had hung across the fence. Daniel came out with 2 beers. Handed me one. Sat down in the chair next to mine. Pop, he said. I got a promotion today. Yeah, regional manager. They're putting me in charge of 3 warehouses. Big raise. Benefits. A company car. I raised my bottle. To the regional manager. He clinked his bottle against mine. Couldn't have done it without you. The classes. The coaching. The money to get us started. I know I don't say it enough, but thank you. For everything. You say it plenty. More than I deserve. Bull. He took a long sip. You gave us more than money. You gave us a second chance. A real one. Claire's business is thriving. Lily's got a college fund that'll cover anything she wants to study. I'm not losing sleep over bills anymore. I looked at my son-in-law. The man who'd called me a dragon. The man who'd told me to keep my money for my old age. He was different now. Softer around the edges but stronger in the middle. He'd earned that promotion. I just pointed him in the right direction. You ready for the rest of it? I asked. The rest of what? Building something that lasts. Something that doesn't depend on me. He nodded slowly. I think so. Claire and I have been talking. We want to buy the house next door. Fix it up. Rent it out. Build some real wealth that way. Smart move. Smart because you taught me. He grinned. 3 months ago I didn't know the difference between a mutual fund and a money market account. Now I'm planning investment properties. The student surpasses the teacher. Nah. He shook his head. I'm just catching up. Claire came out with a plate of cookies. Her baking business had exploded. She was supplying 3 local coffee shops and taking custom orders for weddings and parties. The kitchen smelled like sugar and butter from dawn until dusk. Dad, she said, handing me a cookie. Lily wants to know if you'll read her a bedtime story tonight. Always. She's been asking about your old life. The spy stuff. She thinks it's the coolest thing in the world. I laughed. She's 11. Everything's cool at 11. Still. She's proud of you. We're all proud of you. I looked at my daughter. The same eyes as her mother. The same stubborn chin. She'd grown so much in the past year. Not just her business. Her confidence. The way she held herself. The way she laughed. That you should be proud of yourself, I said. You built something real. From nothing. I had help. You had tools. You did the work. She sat down on the other side of me. Dad, can I ask you something serious? Sure. That man. Crane. Do you ever think about him? Wonder what happened? I thought about Gerald Crane. The man who'd spent 7 years chasing a ghost. I'd checked in with Marcus a few weeks ago. Crane had taken the consulting job. He was doing well. Making friends. Starting to rebuild his life. He's okay, I said. He's moving on. That's what I wanted for him. That's what I wanted for all of us. And you, Claire pressed. You're okay too, really okay. I thought about the truth. The real truth. The one I still hadn't fully shared. The past doesn't just disappear. The ghosts don't stop being ghosts. There were still people out there who might come looking. People who'd never forgive what I'd done. But I was done running. Done hiding. Done pretending to be someone I wasn't. I'm getting there, I said. Every day, I'm getting there. Lily ran up to us, breathless and grinning. Grandpa. I caught one. She held up the jar. A single firefly blinked in the darkness. That's a good one, I said. Now you've got to let it go. But Grandpa, I want to keep it. Things that shine brightest aren't meant to be kept, sweetheart. They're meant to be shared. She looked at the jar for a long moment. Then she opened the lid. The firefly flew out, blinking as it disappeared into the night. Beautiful, she whispered. Beautiful, I agreed. Daniel stood up. All right, Lily. Time for bed. You've got soccer practice in the morning. Grandpa's reading me a story. He is. Daniel looked at me. But first, we need to talk about something important. I followed him back inside. The living room was neat and clean. No bills spread across the table. No arguments echoing through the halls. Just a home that felt like a home. Daniel closed the door behind us. I got a call today, he said. From a man named Marcus. My blood went cold. Marcus called you. He said he needed to talk to me directly. Something about an old file. Something he found while working on Crane's case. What did he tell you? Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He sent this. Said you'd want to see it. I took the paper. Unfolded it. My hands were shaking. It was a photograph. Old and grainy. A group of men standing in front of a building I recognized. The agency headquarters. The date was stamped on the back. 1985. And in the center of the group, smiling at the camera, was a face I hadn't seen in 40 years. My own face. Before Frank Henderson. Before the cover. Before everything. Why would Marcus send this to you? Daniel asked. Why now? I couldn't speak. The air had gone out of the room. Pop, what's going on? I looked at him. This man who'd become a son to me. This man who'd stood by me when Crane came. This man who'd promised to protect our family. Marcus isn't just my handler, I said. He's the only person who knew my real identity. The only one who could prove who I used to be. So why is he sending pictures to me? Because he's sending a message. My throat was dry. He's telling me that the past isn't as buried as I thought. He's telling me that someone else has this information. Daniel's face went pale. Someone like Crane. Crane was just one man. There were others. People I worked with. People I worked against. People who'd love to know that Frank Henderson isn't Frank Henderson. What do we do? I looked at the photograph again. My own face staring back at me from 40 years ago. A man I barely recognized. We don't run, I said. We don't hide. We stand our ground. We face whatever comes together. Daniel nodded slowly. Together. That's what you said. That's what we are. Together, I repeated. And I meant it. Claire knocked on the door. Dad, Lily's waiting for her story. I folded the photograph and tucked it into my pocket. Pushed the fear down deep where it wouldn't show. I'll be right there. She smiled and walked away. I turned to Daniel. Keep this between us for now, I said. I need to talk to Marcus. Figure out what's going on. But I'm not leaving. Not again. I never thought you would. Daniel said. I walked to Lily's room. She was in bed, stuffed rabbit in her arms, eyes wide and expectant. Grandpa. What story are you gonna tell? I sat on the edge of her bed. Thought about everything that had happened. The secrets. The lies. The truth that was finally coming out. I'm going to tell you the story of a man who learned that the only thing worth having isn't money or power or secrets, I said. It's the people who love you. Did that happen to you, Grandpa? Every single day. I told her a story. Not the whole truth. Not yet. She was too young for that. But enough. Enough to let her know that being brave wasn't about being fearless. It was about being afraid and doing what needed to be done anyway. When she fell asleep, I kissed her forehead and walked back to the kitchen. Daniel was at the table with Claire. They were looking at a laptop together. Planning. Building. Moving forward. I sat down with them. My family. My home. The thing I'd spent my entire life running toward without even knowing it. We have a lot of work to do, I said. But we're going to do it together. That's how we survive. That's how we thrive. Claire took my hand. We love you, Dad. That's never going to change. Because love doesn't depend on who you used to be, Daniel added. It depends on who you are right now. I looked at them. At the photographs on the mantel. At the life we'd built from the ashes of the past. The dragon had finally come out of the cave. But it wasn't a monster. It was just a man. An old man with a family. And that was all I'd ever really needed. The phone buzzed in my pocket. Marcus. I didn't answer. Not tonight. Tomorrow, I'd call him back. Tomorrow, I'd deal with the ghosts. Tonight, I was home. The only thing that grows in the dark is fear. Bring it into the light, and it withers. If this story hit home for you, hit that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe for more tales of redemption, secrets, and the families that make us whole.